Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So without further ado, it's just Crystal and I hanging out in the Zoom room tonight. You guys are more than welcome to answer or ask any questions for her inside the group chat. I'll be kind of relaying those through the Facebook Messenger or Facebook group. So if you do have any questions that pop up or anything that comes to mind, or if you want to relate or question anything, we're super open to that. So I met Crystal in Orlando last winter. I don't know, sometime between like
October.
September. Yeah, at NCS, so Nutritional Coaching Summit, and yeah, we were doing a really silly thing where we had to like make a mask.
Uh-huh.
I messed up, but that's where I met Crystal, and I've been following her since then, and I just love her transformation story and her just general demeanor as a coach. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Crystal kind of like take away and just yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, dope. Okay. Yeah. So like Ryan said, we met at a nutrition summit, if you will. And now we're in the same like mentorship. So, well, and really we were at that point as well, but we had not met formally. So we do our business coaching together, which has been awesome because we get to meet all these other coaches in the space that are doing things similarly to us or doing things differently than us. A lot of us have similar backgrounds, and it sounds like we do as well, coming from modalities where we coached in facilities that were really into group training and stuff. So I'll touch upon that, but I'll start from the beginning. I was born on, no, I'm from Montana and I moved to Colorado just over 10 years ago, right after I got married. My husband and I moved here for work for him. And I was somebody who came from a teaching background. So I taught elementary school. I like taught in the exact same school system that I grew up in. So I was a part of that community from like age 5 to 26. And growing up through school, I was not an athlete in any way, shape, or form. Like the only sort of sports that I did growing up was like YMCA basketball when I was in elementary school. And I wore like denim jeans, if that tells you like how freaking athletic I was. And then tried to do sports in like middle school. Okay, was fine. Tried to try out for sports in high school. Certainly was not cutting it. So I didn't get into working out or anything until I was an adult. And that came with going to group fitness classes. So, you know, going to a 24-hour fitness, I went to spin class. I went to like body pump. I did hours of cardio. Like I would literally be on the elliptical for like 2 hours a day when I finally got into working out and whatnot as an adult. And so group fitness was my foray into fitness. That's why I'll always have a love for it. I'll always understand that something is better than nothing, typically. It's always it depends sort of context, but group fitness was the thing that catapulted me into bringing fitness into my life on a regular schedule. So I love the fact that you show up and you see the same people all the time. So they sort of expect you and you have that sort of accountability built in with something like group fitness. But I was someone who just abused it, right? I would literally go to spin class for an hour. Then I'd go lift weights, if you will. Then I'd go do the elliptical for 2 hours, like all of that in a day. It was insane. So growing up as a former fat kid who didn't do sports, who then finally got into doing this whole working out thing and thinking, oh, this is the secret to success. It stopped working after quite some time, right? Like you can only do so much cardio, you can only do so much jumping around and eating absolutely next to nothing before your body just doesn't want to respond. So, yeah, if anybody has a story where they fell into fitness and that's how they got into it and then they overdid it, then you can certainly relate and you understand where I'm coming from, where I say, yeah, it only goes so far. You can only like devote so many hours of your day to working out. You can only eat so little food before you go, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you go fucking nuts and you just want to eat everything in your pantry, right? So, yeah. So coming with that, I ended up getting involved with a boot camp back home, a boot camp, like an outdoor women's boot camp thing. In my early 20s, this was all when I started dating my husband, or now husband rather. And once I got through doing a couple of years of that, I really made a great physical transformation. But then I decided I actually have this love for fitness, which was crazy because, again, fat kid, didn't know any of that stuff growing up. So they actually asked me to come on and become sort of a coach with them. I started studying for my personal trainer cert while I was simultaneously like teaching elementary school. And then we ended up moving before that could ever come to fruition. So I went from that to having no job, right? It was like, okay, was going to do this thing while teaching. Now I'm not teaching because I hate teaching and not fond of children either. So my husband was like, just do whatever you want to do. I decided to be a housewife, and that lasted about 2 weeks before I got super bored. And then I trained at a 24-hour fitness, and I hated that. But what I did love was the idea of group fitness again. So I opened up my own women's boot camp. It was the same sort of business model that I had been involved with in Montana. And that was great until it wasn't. Like, I just didn't have enough leads or anything. And, fast forward a few years, I ended up coaching at Orange Theory. So I actually just quit that job a year ago. I coached there for 4 years, and I loved it because that was my key to actually like meeting people in the town that I live in. Like, I didn't have any friends or people that I hung out with or could go do fitness things with or anything until I got that job, really. So it was awesome for the community vibe, for getting me back into, again, finding something that I was excited about when it came to working out. But ultimately, it led to just doing too much. And I just kept not being able to understand why I was working out so much and I was eating so little. And like, how the hell am I not seeing any results? So yeah, like I said, I left that a year ago, and we can certainly dive into like my transformation story and everything when it comes to why I finally gave up doing Orange Theory, why I finally gave up coaching in Orange Theory. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the last 20 something years of my life.
Yeah. Cindy says I cuss a lot, so you're good.
Oh yes, love it.
Sometimes I don't even realize how much I am until like I watch the replay. I'm like, shit, I gotta stop fucking
I
cussing.
know, right? I'm like, you guys, I promise I'm well educated. I just like don't like to speak in words that are big.
My mom's on here too all the time, and she's just like, you don't have to cuss. When
Oh
my
my
dad
God.
say that, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, mom.
I love it. My mom gets it. She's not going to change me.
Yeah, but I think like your story reigns true. So like in the comments, if you guys could just raise your hand or hit that like button if you ever fell into that same boat where you like fell in love with it, or you had success with one like modality. And then the crazy thing is like you never shift away because like that initial success that you probably had, like you had a crazy, like amazing mentally, emotionally like change when you found like fitness and you did like, the passion that you can obviously tell. But then like what happens when like that result stops? And then you keep on pushing harder and harder. And you're mentioning some like 3-4 hour workouts. And like, I don't know if I've ever done that, but at some point you can't do anymore. And I think like I was watching on Mind Pump and they just said, so like they say everything well, but they really said like it's just a losing battle and you're just kind of fighting uphill until you can't fight anymore. And then if you cut down those hours and then God forbid you increase your calories without like the right direction or knowledge behind that, it's a super scary thing because you're like, if I don't keep this up, I'm just going to trend right back to where I was when I wasn't happy before I had this transformation. So yeah, I would love to hear, your transformation. No one wants to hear my story.
Oh gosh, of course. No, and I love that you, of course, bring up my boys at Mind Pump. We all know, like, they're my gods. So, but anyways, they can speak so well, and it makes me so jealous. But they've had a lot of hours of practice compared to us. So, when it comes to a transformation story, like I said, I got involved in fitness, did the damn thing. When I was doing all of that exercise and working out and stuff, I went from like, I never knew how much I actually weighed. I would guess it was like 180, 185. And my husband, when we started dating, that's about what he weighed. And like, I'm 5'7", he's like 6'1", 6'2", something, like dramatic difference. So for me, it was like, oh my God, like I weigh the same thing as my boyfriend, probably. This is ridiculous. So, yeah, I just wanted to get healthy. I wanted to like look good, feel good. I felt like he deserved so much more than this woman who just didn't take care of herself. At the time, I was, again, like, when we were started dating, I had just finished college with my education degree. I was a bartender. I was a bit of an alcoholic. Like, I was drinking like 7 days a week. I worked in the bar scene. That's where all my friends were and stuff. I didn't know how to cook or do anything, right? I didn't grow up in a household where fruits and vegetables like existed. It was like Oreos, cereal, Taco Bell, pizza. Like that's what I lived off of. So, not coming from a household that was designed to like set you up for success when it comes to health and fitness definitely played into like, there's no way I should be where I'm at right now. But I got here through a lot of hard work and just like wanting to do it, like because fitness changed my life. So at that point, like I said, probably 180, 185 at my absolute smallest. This was after like just over 2 years of my husband and I dating. The day we got engaged, I weighed 137.5 pounds. And that was the smallest I have ever been in my adult life, probably in my teenage life. And it was super unhealthy because you heard all the things I was doing to achieve that. So then for like the next few years, I actually put on like normal weight for me and my body, and it felt decent. I'm like, okay, I can hover around like the 145, 150 mark. And then I just kept like putting on a couple more pounds every year, and it just like wouldn't come off. And it didn't look good, right? It wasn't like I was doing it the healthy way. I wasn't doing it by like putting on some muscle. It was just, hey, I'm eating a lot of food and I'm not actually being consistent with my food. And I'm doing a lot of working out so that I can keep eating more food. Like that was kind of the game I was playing. And prior to that, it was, I'm going to literally work out for hours on end, tracking every calorie that I burn, wearing a heart rate monitor and tracking every calorie I consume and making sure that it was always at least a net zero, if not negative calories. Like I literally worked out to eat. And then I got to the point where, like I said, after we got married, it was just like, okay, we're doing okay. And then the weight just wasn't coming off, and I would just hop on one fad diet after the other. It was keto, it was intermittent fasting, it was Whole30. And then I fell into Orange Theory, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, damn, I actually have to like look like I work out again. Like I had taken a few years off from doing any sort of training in person. And now it's like, I should probably again, look like I'm actually fit, because coming onto the studio I was at, I would have compared myself to all of them. And I'm like, I'm the fat coach. Like, this is just not okay. So it looked like going to Orange Theory classes several days a week, right? Like as an employee, you had to work out there, I think 3 or 4 days a week. Plus I was running on the treadmill. Plus I was lifting weights a few days a week. So I was still doing everything. And fast forward like 2 years, I started there in 2018. In March of 2020, we all know the world kind of shut down, and I had just applied to start working with my nutrition coach. And I'm like, shit, what the fuck am I going to do here? I have no job and I just signed up for hundreds of dollars of coaching every month. Like, what are we doing? So it all worked out. It was fine. We made the money happen and everything. But in working with her, the first thing she had me do, even though I couldn't go to Orange Theory at this point, but she's like, no more Orange Theory, no more cardio. Like, you're just eating the food. We're going to get your calories up. You were just lifting weights 3 days a week, and you're just like hitting your steps and like prioritizing recovery. Because unbeknownst to me at the time, like I was super stressing my body, right? Extreme levels of cortisol with doing high intensity interval training, with running, with strength training, doing the most. I also had another in-person job. I was a luggage handler for Delta Airlines. So I'm throwing bags all day. Like my body was obviously in demand of a lot of calories, but I was only eating like 1,800 calories a day. So again, it was just one of those things where I was at this extreme of you're eating so little compared to how much activity you're doing. And it's literally impossible for you to keep eating less and less and less to support what you're doing. You're just never going to have the results that you need. So, working with her, she got me to cut out Orange Theory, even when the studios reopened and everything. I just told my bosses, I'm like, I can't do the workouts. Sorry. Like, I'm just not allowed to. Luckily, nobody really cares because, well, that was kind of one of the shitty things about that company in the first place is they don't actually care what their employees are doing. Yeah, I stopped doing Orange Theory. I just lifted weights. I just got in steps every day and started eating to actually put on muscle. And so from March 2020 to December 2020, I was in a reverse diet, built up my calories. And then wouldn't you know it, January, I go into a cut and I just dropped the fucking fat. It was insane. So even today, I just posted like a transformation picture of when I started working with her, March 2020 to like, I think it was May or June of 2021 when I finally got to like finish my fat loss phase. And it was like, yeah, you think that you're going to sign up with a coach and you're going to lose 20 pounds. But if you've been putting your body into the ground day after day with doing too much exercise and not enough eating in an appropriate amount, then it's going to take a lot of time to undo all that damage. And that's what I saw after years of being at Orange Theory, is these people that were coming in and they look the same week after week, month after month, year after year. I'm like, you've been coming here for fucking years and like you haven't changed in a positive way at all. A lot of you look worse, to be quite honest. So that to me was the light bulb. That's when I finally was like, I just hated that job. I resented it. And so finally last year, I just had to walk away. Like, I love the community. I love how it brought amazing people into my life, but I understood that that workout was doing a lot more harm to most people than it was benefiting them. So yeah, I was a living proof of it.
Man. There's so many things that I want to ask you, and I completely forgot, but I wrote down one.
It's because I talk too much. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. The big like takeaway is that like, well, first of all, you said you did a reverse diet from freaking March till December.
Yep.
That's 9 months of just like working out less.
Yep.
Eating more. Like the basics of a reverse diet is typically like what you're doing, you're trying to find homeostasis in a set point and like a healthy spot for your body to just recover and thrive, right? That's what a reverse diet does. And I was just talking to somebody else and she's just like, she does like a CrossFit class or whatever. And I was like, well, to find your set point, it might be easier to just do less. And then just know like that's kind of like a thing you can always have in your back pocket. If you want to like increase your cardio a little bit, cool, go add that. And then you're going to have benefits. But if you are like searching like a moving train, you're always like trying to catch up your calories to your activity. It's just a hard journey. Yeah. So the question, I guess, was what was going through your mind when you were working with a coach for 9 months and they're like, hey, we're not going to lose fat now.
It sucked, right? Like I was just, and it's so funny. And I get goosebumps because I literally have this conversation with clients every day where it's like, I get it. I can relate. It doesn't feel like anything amazing is happening because nothing amazing is happening right now. Like, it sucks to literally go through this process where you're like, I signed up with you to lose weight, bitch. What the fuck? Why are we not doing this? Why am I like 5 pounds heavier than I was when I started with you? But you don't realize
5 pounds over 9 months. That's like,
exactly. But like, you don't realize it until you're on the other side that like there was a lot of cool things happening. I was doing much less work, right? I was actually enjoying food. I was going on date nights with my husband and understanding that like, hey, I don't have to treat this like the Last Supper because I get to have a date night every week and have an untracked meal every week. And because I'm eating plenty of calories, like I literally got to the point where I was eating ice cream every fucking day to try to hit my calorie goal because it was hard to get 2,400 calories of just all the foods that I enjoy. Like, I've never had a problem over these past several years of eating plenty of protein and fruits and vegetables and grains and stuff. But it was like, all right, we're reaching the point where like, I can only do so much of it. I'm feeling miserable. I'm in my skin wanting to just crawl outside of it. And mind you, I was having to go through this through the summer, right? I signed up with the coach in March thinking I'm going to lose all this weight. I'm going to lose 20 pounds by the time summer's here. Dope. And it was so not that. It was not a vibe. So I hated it, to be quite honest, but I was also like, but it's kind of freeing to know that like there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I trust her. I trust that she has my best interest at heart. And quite honestly, what I've been doing has not been working. And that to me was huge because I was a fitness professional, right? I had been doing health and fitness, training people, helping them with their nutrition and fitness and stuff since I was 26. And when I signed on with her, it was 34. So 8 years of obviously I needed help and I didn't have all the solutions. So thank God I worked with her because then I was able to see and understand and then go through even further education to really understand how to apply it to other people. But what I did with my own body, what I saw happen with my own body made it possible and now makes it possible for me to relate to clients, right? Because it's like, I've been there. I didn't grow up this like super fit bitch. So yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many like little takeaways too, because for me, I was a personal trainer, like in-person training. I taught boot camps. I taught cycling classes. If you guys are blessed enough to sit on my cycling class on Tuesday morning at 8:30, you know what a good time's like. But at the same time, like I just I was playing the calorie game forever. And like, all right, well, now I'm gonna focus. And I got like, I don't know, I just like I'm a competitive person. So like, oh my gosh, Diet Bet came out. I can make money by losing weight. I've made hundreds of dollars losing the same 10 pounds. Hindsight 2020, every time I gain the weight back, it's something called body fat overshooting. I made it harder every time, but cool. I'm competitive. It's more of a challenge now.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I did like the intermittent fasting. I did, you know, everything under the sun, like bulletproof coffee. Like I was all about this. Dave Asprey, like, oh my gosh, he's so smart. Turns out he's a psycho a little bit.
Because
But
he
like,
his butthole. I don't get it.
yeah, that's interesting. It does. I don't know if you guys know that. It's
Now you
popular
know.
out in
Go look
California.
at it.
Yeah.
Go research.
But like it has to be so challenging to like, all right, this has to be the right way. Right. And
Yeah.
when I did my first reverse diet, like with a coach, like I did a reverse diet and then I got to the point where like I'm at like 2,600 calories. I'm like kind of uncomfortable. Like I'm eating a lot of food, but I'm also a 200-pound guy. And I'm just like, but like I could binge and drink alcohol and eat pizza. And I could eat 4,000-5,000 calories then. But if I'm doing it like through whole nutrient dense foods, I'm like, I'm stuffed. I don't feel good. Like I feel like I'm just shoving in rice and steak and chicken all day and broccoli.
Yep.
And then with the help of a coach, I got all the way up to like 3,200. And like, holy shit, I felt great. Cause I think for the first time I lived there. And then on the weekends, I didn't have this like need to go binge every weekend or get hammered and eat all this food. Like it's weird how the things all lined up. And then I just sent my favorite time of my life was prepping for my youngest son, Lincoln just turned 1. So it was like January to the end of February. So it was a 2-month bulk. And I went up to like 32 to 3,300 calories a day, eating 200 grams of protein. And on that day, because I knew my metabolism was going to crash because when you have kids, like you just stop sleeping. So like I was prepped to just be miserable. And I had so much freaking energy and I felt so amazing. So like I didn't have to think about my diet for 8 months. I didn't have to think about workouts for 8 freaking months. And the reason I say 8 is just remember I got to September and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for a cut now. But I didn't like gain weight. I didn't get fatter. I didn't feel worse. Like I primed myself to just go on autopilot for almost a year without getting like fat. And that was after I lost 20 pounds before that. So like it was really like I value a reverse diet so much. And like pushing your limits, get uncomfortable a little bit. Like I have people that work with me that they'll start with like 1,000 calories. We'll eat 1,200 calories. Like, oh my gosh, I'm stuffed. I'm like, I had 1,200 calories before fucking like my snack.
Exactly.
Right. Like, so you get to this point of like, and it's this really fine line because I don't want you ever to like not listen to your body, but ultimately like you listening to your body and doing that intuitive eating has gotten you to a place of overworking and undereating. And the only way to get out of it is to kind of like push your limits. So if I'm sure if you have any stories about that, that'd be great. But just pushing uncomfortable and like doing what you know is right, coming from like an outside source, right?
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? It was like I said, I'm eating ice cream all the time, like just to get in my calories, and 2,400 calories is a lot. Like it just is when you think that you're supposed to eat 1,200 or 1,500. Like when you think that that's a normal thing, 2,400 calories feels like a lot. So that's one of the things that we have to work on with our clients a lot of times is we're like, no, we're going to like push your calories up. We're going to push them as high as we can, blah, 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 for your reverse diet before we go into fat loss. And people are like, that's so much food. And it's like, but it's not. Like you're gaining weight because you're eating that much food, right? Like it just is. Like it's just a fact. Whether or not you're tracking it, you might be eating 1,200 calories Monday through Thursday, and then Friday night rolls around, Saturday night rolls around, Sunday brunch rolls around, and bitch, you're shoving down thousands of calories of alcohol and brunch and going out for happy hour and appetizers and shit. Like people think it's a lot of food when it comes to real whole nutrient dense foods. But ask those bitches to throw down some brunch and like 2,000 calories is gone down your throat before you know it. So, I mean, it's all about the quality of food that you're putting in you and, you know, how your body registers that food, but liquid calories, especially like, again, was definitely an alcoholic, was drinking thousands of calories of alcohol every single weekend. And that's why I was gaining weight. So if that sounds familiar, my friends, like, oh, I'm eating next to nothing, ask yourself if you're really always eating next to nothing, or if you're gaining weight because there's plenty of days where you're going overboard.
I mean, look at the average calories. Like if you tracked every calorie to a T, and by the way, tracking calories, it's a losing battle too, because there's error in it. But it's all just a relative like system, because if you do track your calories and you tracked everything as accurately as possible, you're not going to gain or not going to lose weight if you're not in a calorie deficit, or if you're in a calorie deficit. Sorry, I can't even think right now. So like they got to be coming from somewhere. But yes, you can adapt your metabolism down to that way where it just gets really efficient. And I think that's what happens more often than not when you sign up January 1 and you're like, I got this workout plan, I'm gonna go crazy on the cardio. Because like, and to be fair, when you walk into a gym, it can be intimidating. And the most friendly thing in the world is a recumbent bike. I get it. I totally get it. But like start there and then venture into the weight room. Because if you just do like say a mile a day, your body might burn a higher amount of calories for like a week or two. Eventually it kind of plateaus. It gets used to doing a mile a day. So then you got to go 2 miles a day. And then you got to go for the runs, and you got to go for like cardio is just this never ending chase where you're going to have to go more and more and more. And Crystal worked up to like, it sounds like 18 hours a day working out. But like, so I guess I want to know if you could do it all over again, go talk to fresh out of college or fresh out of high school, Crystal.
Yeah.
What would you have done or told yourself then? And then where do you think you'd be today?
Oh shit. I wish I had planned this out, because I'm actually doing a Facebook Live in my group on Thursday where I'm going to talk about where I would have started. And I usually make my notes for that like 2 hours before the Facebook. So basically, if I could start over, like the first thing I would do is like work with somebody to give me a well-designed workout structure of some sort. Like I remember when I was at 24 hour, trying to get into weightlifting and stuff just a little bit, like just to work with the trainer, right? My friend and I, we would do a workout together. So it was like half price, but I would really lean into like getting even with our one-on-one clients right now, a lot of them, they get their workout programming from us, but they'll still meet with a trainer like once a week or something in real life to like help them perfect form and go over the basics and stuff. And they do send their videos and whatnot to like my assistant coach, and she'll give them feedback on stuff. But I would work with somebody. So I learned the value of strength training, because that right there, when you can start building muscle before you even get into all the nutrition and stuff, because that just, it feels like a lot. Like just get into the weightlifting, just get into like going for walks every day and just like moving more than you're sitting. I think that would have been huge for the fitness side of me, right? Like I wish that's where I would have started. Although having a little bit of mix of like classes and stuff wasn't the worst thing, because that's where you do sort of learn some of the basics if you don't have a shitty instructor, where you could actually learn a little bit with form. It's just hard, right? When you're in a class full of a bunch of people, like at Orange Theory, I had anywhere up to 39 people in one class. Like you can't go around and tell somebody that their deadlift fucking sucks and here's how you fix it. So, if you want to get the comfort level, okay, go to classes a little bit here and there, but work with somebody on strength training. And then on the nutrition side of things, I would have probably not even started tracking necessarily, just like, hey, we're going to eat this many times per day. And this is the components of what should be in those meals, just starting really basic. And then, oh, you want to have all these other things? Well, cool. Like you can fit those in after you make sure you hit these guidelines of like, you're having 3 balanced meals that have proteins and plants and carbs at all of them. And the big thing that would have been huge for me way back then would have been cutting out alcohol and cutting out going out to eat all the fucking time. Again, like I literally ate out every single day for years. So if I would have just cut back on eating out and learning how to like prepare food at home, not only would I be like a goddamn millionaire because I would have so much money at this point, but I never would have gotten as fat as I did, because there's no way that I would have eaten all those calories that are just unnecessarily in all the foods that we go out to eat no matter what. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I got into weightlifting as just a straight vanity thing because I was a small little kid. Like I wrestled my freshman year at 119 pounds. And when like you're the same size as, I don't know, like every girl in your class or like smaller, it's like, well, cool. Like I got to get bigger. And I wasn't getting taller, right? I'm only 5'9". But like and then I gravitated towards it because I loved it because I don't know, my arms got a little bit bigger. I got a little stronger. Like I could compete with people that were bigger than me because I had short little arms. So my bench press was heavier, right? Like I just thrived in that environment. But then ultimately I hung out in my comfort zone, which just happened to be the weight room. And because I put on a little bit of muscle when I was younger, probably like saved me from getting up to like 300 pounds plus,
Mhm.
like because my metabolism was so high. And I slept a shit ton in college. Like I slept a lot and I worked out. It was like perfect priming for building muscle. And just besides like the binging on alcohol and pizza on the weekends and whatever else. But like if I wouldn't have gone through that phase of my life, when I got into like even being a fitness and health instructor, I still went out all the time. I still drank and overconsumed calories, and probably, you know, my metabolism wasn't floored because yeah, I was doing these stupid diet bets and I was doing all this stupid stuff, but I was still refeeding every weekend. Like no wonder I'm not losing weight. I got
Right.
drunk Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or whatever it was, and just overate my calories. So I like at the end of the day, my calories probably did come out to like 3,000, but I was so like, oh, but I'm trying so hard. And I'm
Right.
like, I wasn't really trying so hard because like the second someone's like, want to get a drink, I'm like, let's get
Yeah.
five,
Send
you know?
it.
Yeah.
Well, and let's
So
be honest, we were young back then. We had more resiliency. We didn't need as much sleep. We could totally thrive off of just like eating dog shit. We're a little bit older now. It's a lot harder. I'm much closer to 40 than I am to 30 at this point. So it just gets harder and harder.
yeah.
And I know everybody wants to use that as an excuse. Well, yeah, your metabolism slows down. It's like, it's really not the metabolism, it's your life changes, right? Even for
Yeah.
me, I'm a lot more sedentary now because I've just been working at home for the past year. So I have to be intentional about getting steps. Whereas when I went through my first fat loss phase with my coach, I remember my starting step count goal was 12 to 14,000 a day. And there were plenty of days I got 17, 18, 19, 20,000 just because the nature of my jobs and how active I was with coaching and again, loading airplanes. So, you
Yeah.
know, my life has changed in the past just couple of years and I have to be that much more intentional about it.
I think one of like the scariest things too when it comes to like the group fitness, because it is a very attractive. I get it. Like people hold you accountable and you got your clicks and you got your groups and you got your high fives and your high energy and the good music and like it's a party. I that was exactly what I kind of like told people when I would onboard people to the new gym. Like, if you want to like party and lose weight, join team training. It's fucking awesome. Like, and if you want to meet some of the friendliest people in the gym, go to team training. It's amazing. Like, they're gonna welcome you in. They'll probably give you a hug. They don't even know you, but they'll be like loving up on you every second of the day. And I love that. I love that.
Yep.
And a lot of people get that initial success with it.
Mm.
It's just like, well, when you've been doing this for 4, 5, 6, 8, a decade, and like you said, like you look like shit compared to when you started. Like
Yep.
Crystal's words, not
Yep.
mine.
Yes.
My people
Totally
never.
my words.
No.
They
But
look
like,
like shit.
but when you're not seeing that progress anymore, it does have something to do with like that is a very strenuous activity to go like boot camp or Orange Theory or F45 to do that 3, 4, 5 days a week. You need to be eating a fuck ton to match that, and you need to be like stressing less outside of your life because your body knows that that's stress. Like it's a challenge. Your heart rate's high. Your body releases cortisol from that, and then you go into a stressful job, and then you go home to stressful kids, and then you feel bad. So like you only get 2 minutes to yourself, so you end up like staying up late to watch TV at night or Netflix or to give your own personal time, and then you wind down with wine. But then you got to be up at 4:30 to get back to your boot camp, and you can see how this cycle can get vicious pretty quick. And it might not even be like taking out the class at start. It could be like, hey, could you just like breathe and go to bed rather than try to like stay up and like catch up on Vanderpump Rules. By the way, watching
Holy
that,
shit.
love that. I love that
Holy
show.
shit. Blowing up right now. I'm so glad I'm watching this season.
Yeah. Anywho, but and people are like, oh, it's just my workouts. Like my workouts aren't working for me. I'm like, it could be workouts. My diet, like I can't stick to that strict diet stuff. I'm like, okay, maybe we should just reframe a little bit of everything. Like, and that can't happen in one conversation. And it can't happen in like a day or a week or like it took Crystal 9 months.
Yeah.
And she's coming from the healthy like being a health professional. Like she's in the fitness business. And one like there's a story on Mind Pump the other day. They're talking about when they did the fat loss competition and they used the hydrostatic weighing for all these 24-hour fitness people. So these are like professionals that like are transformational professionals that did like this, I don't know, 2-month period trying to lose as much fat as possible. And most of them actually got fatter because they ended up losing more weight or sorry, more muscle than fat.
Yep.
So they got like that traditional term is skinny fat. And these are people who know how to manipulate calories. They know how to cook their food. They know how to work out. and they train their asses off and they end up losing more muscle than fat. And then it led them to actually being a higher body fat percentage, which it is the exact opposite of getting more like toned.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think like the big picture that I'm trying to like paint for you guys is that if you want to get more tone, more lean, you're never going to look like a bodybuilder because you're not doing what bodybuilders do, right? Like, I don't know, unless you want to like do 10 sets of 10 like Arnold, which is a great, like, go do that for 3 weeks. Tell me how you feel. Like, I bet you see some changes. No matter what, you're still not going to get traps that go up to your ears. All right. Like, it's just not going to happen. That's genetics, as well as a crazy regimen, as well as eating in a huge caloric surplus. So don't be afraid of that. But like, if you start looking at all these as skills, like Crystal developed skills on how to cook and prep food for herself and how to strength train and looked at her deadlift as a skill and like everything as a skill, where she just refined that. And then she matched it with her calories. Like, that's just a cheat code. That's like how you get to being as efficient as possible. For me, I don't live like that all the time, like 365 days a year. Yeah, there's like a 3-month period where I'm trying to lose a little bit of fat. I got my next 3-month period. I can't wait because I'm going to go back into a surplus. But like, I'm just focusing on like, how can I feel as good as possible? And then when that's a focus of being as healthy as possible, I do sleep more. Like, I wake up feeling rested. It's a cool thing. And then when you take someone else to that same journey who never thought they could ever feel that good, that's what gets me really excited. Right. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, a couple things I want to touch upon there. Like you talked about, we go to the workout and these people are so high intensity and like into it and like, yes, I crushed my workout. But like, think about that, you guys. It's literally such a small fraction of your day. If you're going to a 1-hour workout, it's 4% of your day. So what are you doing the other 96% of the day? I'm sure you can do the math that 96% is significantly more than your 4%, right? It's going to play a larger role of your results. So yeah, so what you're doing with your sleep, with your nutrition, with your stress management, all of that plays a much bigger role. And then you also talked about like the fat loss competition at 24 that the Mind Pump guys were talking about. This is where I ultimately had to leave Orange Theory. So they have a transformation challenge every year, and it's always at the beginning of the year, and it's 8 weeks long, and it's based on whoever ends up losing the most body fat. And so, I was coaching a team there, and that was like the only way that I could ever spread any sort of nutrition coaching or impart my wisdom upon them. They actually didn't want us to be telling people nutrition things because we're not qualified. And it's like, no, your standard Orange Theory coach isn't qualified, isn't certified in it, but I am. I have credentials. I can actually coach people with this shit. So that was the very limited amount of coaching that I could give anybody. And I just saw all these people constantly doing exactly what we talked about with Mind Pump, where they were losing weight and they're like, well, I did the midpoint weigh-ins and my body fat's higher. I'm like, dope, because you didn't follow the protein intake I told you to do, because you're also doing treadmill runs on top of your Orange Theory workouts where you're already running on a fucking treadmill. There has to be this point when you realize that losing weight and losing fat are two totally different things. And everybody knows how to lose weight. Very few people know how to lose fat. And so if you're somebody who wants to effectively lose fat, which is going to help you look like you actually fucking work out, then you should probably work with somebody qualified, like my boy Ryan over here, who's going to teach you this is how it works, right? I understand you want to do this, that, whatever. Try it my way, and let's just see if maybe I know what I'm doing here. So
yeah, it's not even like that where you're coming from a place of just you're so fucked, right?
Yeah.
But it's still it is hard. I could go lose probably 20 pounds by spring break and I'm gonna feel miserable. It's gonna be a lot of muscle. And when you do that, you're making it harder for the next time. So one of the scariest things for me is if you've lost 10 pounds from January to spring break, every year for a decade, you've lost 100 pounds. You don't have a weight loss issue. But why the hell does it keep coming back? Are you going so extreme that you inherently hate it? And then that's the kind of the scary relationship is all right, well, now I no longer exercise because I have a relationship where I'm going to overdo it here. And I don't really feel that great during that time. And then, well, no kidding, it's never going to be a lifestyle change because you inherently hate your life during that time. So now you're ruining your diet, you're ruining your metabolism, you're ruining your relationship with fitness and health and being the best version of yourself. You only have so many times you can fail. like I wasn't that great at sports, but I hated losing. And every time that I lost, like I really don't want to do that again. And every time I would do it again, I'm like, this is getting harder and harder. It makes you not even want to compete. Like if you're really bad at something. I don't have anything that comes to mind that I was like really bad at over and over, but like it makes sense. So like why you can't lose. But like that's what I was like for weight loss for a long time, for like a decade. Like when I was trying all these things, I would lose the weight, gain it back. I'm like, man, yeah, it's my fault. Like I can't believe I can't just keep drinking this butter in my coffee and
Yeah.
like eating nothing through a microwave.
Yeah.
So it's not like I always say this to people, like it's not your fault. Like you don't have a weight loss issue. You might have a fat loss issue because you just never done it in a healthy, long, sustained way. You've never had an outlook that was further than a 2-week boot camp or like a 6-week transformation, or a like long one would be 2 months of like trying something. Like overestimate what you can do in a day or a month. Underestimate what you can do in a year. Like show up consistently 3 times a week in a gym, get your steps in like Crystal, eat appropriately, and you could look in the mirror in March 2024 and not recognize that person. I guarantee it. But wait, but then I gotta go through a summer of not like being happy again. It could be your last fucking summer of your life and not being happy again. And then you can have like the rest of the summers be happy. And then like when you said you went through that phase during summer, I'm like, that's just more power to like your testament. Like you must have been in a place of like just being so unhappy.
Yeah.
Like, and another fun conversation is like, you don't have to start doing this when you're like at rock bottom either, right? Like I got to a rock bottom where I got made fun of by a 12-year-old for being the fat trainer. I'm like, cool, I gotta start taking care of myself. Freaking 12-year-olds will say anything. But like big picture, stop trying to overdo everything. Like I talked to so many people that just like, oh, I'm back on Weight Watchers, I'm back on insert X because it worked for me so well. And if it really worked, you wouldn't be back on anything. You'd be continually doing Weight Watchers or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my 2 cents. Man, I didn't know I had so many soapboxes I had to jump on today.
Yes, that's what sucks about these conversations. It's like, yes, all the things. And yeah, it's really hard. But I mean, one thing that I can think of is just the fact that all these people think, well, I know what to do. I just need to do it. Like, cool. That's what I said for so long as a professional. And so that nothing pisses me off more than when I have maybe a sales call or something with somebody and they're like, well, I know what to do. I just need to do it. I'm like, bitch, I'm a fitness professional. And I thought the same thing. And I hired a coach that I worked with for 2.5 years, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you don't know everything. Why are you insulting me and thinking that you have a fucking clue about how to actually do this? Because if you did, wouldn't you be there by now? Like if you knew how to do this, wouldn't you be there by now? We pay people to do our taxes. We pay people to work on our cars. We pay people to fix our computers. Why? Because they're pros. Like they've studied it. They know how to do it. And a lot of instances, they've done something with themselves so they understand how to do it. Like, that's what a good coach is too. That's why like there's no fucking way I'd ever hire a coach that like never had their own sort of transformation story because they can't relate to me. But when I'm hiring somebody that like they get it, they had to go through the struggles that I had to go through with like hating my fucking body and hating living in it and just like wanting to tear myself down and make myself next to nothing. Like those are the people I want to work with, not again, somebody who's like, yeah, I've always been an athlete. I've always been thin. Like, yeah, these 6-pack abs. Like no, fuck that shit. Like I want to work with again, and I want to hire somebody because that is the quickest way to success, you guys, is to pay somebody who actually knows how to do the thing you want to do. Why would you keep just dishing out money to Octavia and fucking, oh, I'm just going to buy some more like keto supplements? Like, stop it. Hire somebody.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that too. Cause like, I have had a big transformation probably in the last 2 years, just in general. I had a coach that's got me started. I went through my own for like first cut on my own, but like, even then I got to the point where I'm like, man, I feel terrible. Like, I was like, all right, what would it, like my assistant coach, she's like, what would you tell yourself if you were a client? I'd say like, oh, it's just time for a refeed week. And she's like, it's time for a refeed week. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I never thought about that. And I'm like, I do this shit every day. I have conversations every day telling people what I think they should do and like the adjustments that they need to make to their program. But when it comes to you, you're in it so like you're so emotionally tied to what you want. You typically don't do what's best for you. And I found that to be the truth for almost every time I've ever tried to like do any transformation. Like more isn't always better. Like when I'm in the gym, that work only took me like 35 minutes. I really want to take advantage of this. I'm just going to do another set of everything.
Oh, God.
Right. Like that, the programming that I even like, I do my own programming for myself sometimes, but like, even then, like I can change this. I should change this. I'm going to like when you're that close to it, you need to step back. You're just like, all right, I just got to follow the program to a T. Once you go through a whole program to a T, the next time you go through that whole program again, or that whole protocol, or that whole like system, then you can make adjustments, and because you learned from it. You're not just like, but maybe the reason that you didn't get the results from the program is because you didn't follow it the way it was laid out and intended to. And I think that's what like coaching does more than anything. It's like, all right, like this is the plan. You understand the plan, like you understand the assignment. I love that like line.
Yes.
You understand the assignment and you just follow through. And if you don't, like, I'm going to educate you. So like in the future, you can build your own assignment. And I think that's the thing that people kind of miss. Like you're no one who's working with me right now is going to work with me forever.
Nope.
I am a coach, not a crutch. And I can't wait to like kick them all out. No, not kick them, but like have the confidence where you can just go and do your own thing forever.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. It's all about just building sustainability, because no, we don't want to work with any of our clients for forever. Maybe we want to have them in our lives for forever, but we want them to be able to take the tools. Like I know it was like a huge compliment to my coach to go through my transformation, decide this is my passion, this is what I want to do, completely changed my life, and went to doing the online nutrition coaching thing and everything too. And now I get to pay it forward and help other people change their lives. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I love about our job is, I don't know about you, but I get countless clients that they invest in coaching and all of a sudden like their fucking life changes. They're getting promotions at work. They're asking for things at work they never would have before, or like telling them, oh no, this is how it's going to be. They're getting out of shitty relationships. They're making other investments in their life. Like they're just constantly leveling up. And so I found this to really be the true gateway to that. And so I know that was the case for me. I continue to now invest in myself and in my business. And I always look at it as that. I'm never like, what's this going to cost? It's how am I going to get a return on my investment on this? So let's fucking go.
Yeah. And I never thought of that like my whole life until obviously recently when, I started working with NCI, but I don't want to waste time anymore. I think people value money more than they value their time. And that scares me because you're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. So like, I'll keep figuring it out. And like, all right, well, how many times have you tried to figure it out? Like, how many times have you started Weight Watchers? How much time, energy, and money have you invested into your current state? Cool. So you're already comfortable investing that much to not be happy.
Yep.
How much are you willing to invest to like get your result that you want in a way that you love and live? And the reason that like I'm so jacked up right now too is Jackie just commented. So Jackie and I, we've been working together for a long time. She's awesome. Saw her this morning, but she's referencing Jared Hamilton's podcast on the Dieting from the Inside Out Guys podcast interview with the guys from Mind Pump. He said, whatever you do to achieve your transformation is a thing you have to be prepared to do forever to keep it. And immediately she thought, oh shit, I have to do this forever. But then I was like, oh wait, I love what I'm doing. Of course I'm going to do this forever. And I'm like, I think that is like just a mic drop situation because that is such a mindset shift. And cool thing about Jackie, she got a new job, or she got like a bonus job on top of her current job during her time. But side note, I'm like, I think that is really cool. Like for me personally, I don't get to know what it's like to have diabetes. Like it runs in my family, like high blood pressure. Like I'm never going to get to the point where I have to worry about that because I get to go work out every day. Like I get to go through these walks. Like I get to sit down at breakfast now for the first time. Like, my whole career, I thought I was just never going to see my family. I'm like, I'm just going to go work so I can like, provide something. Turns out I value time with my family more than ever. And so like, I could never go back to a job where I train all morning and miss like breakfast and miss dinner. Right. So it's funny, like money like holds such weight in our lives. I'm like, you can't take that shit with you anyway. I think you're not guaranteed tomorrow. So why don't you like get to where you want to be quicker? Like same thing with our mentorship. I'm like, I would not be where I am today having these conversations with people like Crystal, or getting to go to a whole room of crystals in April.
Way better than me.
really like just kind of like you said, like just leveling up. Like
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable the first coaching con because I'm like, I'm this shy little guy from Wisconsin. And turns out people are really friendly if you give them a chance to be. And like you just open up and you can have these amazing conversations and relationships. And that was something I never thought I would get. And it was because I hired a coach.
Yeah.
I would never have been in that room if I wouldn't have gotten a coach. So
That trickle effect. And I love what you talk about, the trade-off of like money and time. And my husband has ruined me because that's like one of his favorite things to tell me. He's like, we can always make more money. We can always make more money. Like, yeah, you can always make more money. Are you always going to have the opportunity to get more healthy, to live in a body you actually fucking love, not one you just tolerate and one that like honestly is miserable to live in every day? No, you're not going to have that opportunity every day. So like fucking take advantage of it. Quit letting another 365 days pass. Quit waiting until 2 weeks before summer to go on a fucking crash diet. Like start today.
yeah. And then do it in a way that you love. Like look at it as a skill and learn to love it. I think would be just the biggest takeaway. And like that's ultimately why today I don't love CrossFit. It's not, I have nothing against CrossFit coaches. I trained out of a CrossFit box and I had like great community. Everything was great. My initial introduction from CrossFit was from this guy that's in the special forces today. Those workouts fucking killed me and crushed my soul. Yeah. And now I relate that shit to CrossFit. So it's like, it's my past experience, my past trauma, coming to life for CrossFit, unfortunately. But like at the same time, I love lifting like I was in high school. I still do the same workout splits I did in high school because that's where I saw the most results. But like at the same time, I fucking loved it. I was hanging out with my friends. I like pressing weight and squatting and deadlifting and getting strong. Like that's where I thrive. That's not what's for everybody. And I get that. Like I can't get you guys to fall in love with my hobbies, but if you could just like look at training as a skill of like, how good can I get at this? That's a very entry level way. Cause like you can do a push-up, lunges down your hallway right now. And I don't know, like a single leg toe touch, like just stand up and touch your toe. That's strength training. Like don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, I could come up with a better move. Anyway.
Well, that's the thing, is thinking about everyday movements, right? Lunging, squatting, deadlifting, pressing. Those are things you want to be able to do in old age, right? Like you don't want somebody else being responsible for you, right? You don't want to be a burden on other people because you chose not to take care of yourself now. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the top things I saw working at Orange Theory, not only was people never making progress, but it was also people getting injured all the fucking time because those workouts are inappropriate for longevity. What's appropriate for longevity? Lifting heavy weights, moving your body with basic human movement patterns like lifting or like pressing, pushing, pulling, squatting, whatever, and walking. Like that's all you need for fitness. Walk and lift heavy things.
Yeah. That's perfectly said. So I'm going to just open up. If anybody does have any questions for Crystal.
It's okay if you don't. I'm sure I talked plenty. You got enough.
Yeah. But thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you, Crystal, for hanging out. There's so many just like little nuggets, but I just think that I understand that like Crystal loves fitness. I love fitness. But it wasn't always that way. I know I like nutrition. I don't like love the concept of physiology and like you could I'm sitting in like the level 2 right now and I'm thinking like, man, I don't want to talk about like thyroid and stuff. Like it's boring. But man, like if you start to just give your body some key nutrients and not starve it, and you can feel so good. And I think people are like afraid of that because the number on the scale might go up. And Crystal did a reverse and she said she gained 5 pounds.
So what, 5 pounds lighter or 5 pounds heavier is not going to change your life, guys. So like fucking get over it.
But like, and then I would say like, it's the energy that you get when you wake up and you look in the mirror. So for me, I literally roll out of bed and it's super simple because like I open the door and there's a mirror. And some days I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Like this is I feel good. And then, but there were times in the past I'm like, what am I even doing? And then that energy just carries into your day and into your life. And I'm all about body positivity and like loving your body. But there is just an energy that goes about not loving it. And I don't think those two are related, like self-love and like necessarily body image. But like at the same time, if you do love yourself, you're probably going to exercise. You're probably going to move to be healthy. You're not going to want to sit on a couch. Like if you loved yourself, you would not binge Vanderpump Rules for 18 hours straight. Like just you wouldn't. You'd want to move eventually. You like maybe do like 3-hour blocks, you know, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
I have to get up and move around too.
The same thing with like eating. You know, if I love myself, there's no way that I'm going to go treat myself to like Culver's every day for multiple meals or eat just nothing but Qdoba. It tastes good short term, and it can be used to hit your like you can actually have that in your plan. Like people think like, oh, you can't do that. Like I worked with someone for 6 months. She had Culver's almost every day. I don't know if you have Culver's out there. It's a like Wisconsin
It
thing.
exists. I've never had it myself.
So it's pretty like tasty. It's a lot of grease. But you can have that shit. Like you can have Coca-Cola, you can have all these things. It doesn't have to be as like black and white as people like have painted it to be. Like you need to follow in these boundaries. Like here's the boundary in the box you have to live in. The second you step out, you feel like shit because you're a failure and you can't stick to a plan. Like, well, what if like your plan just has like a little loop that goes around Culver's, and then your plan also has like a little loop that goes around like, I don't know, Captain and Coke. I don't know what you drink. Old fashioned. Yeah. Ugh. Careful, Crystal. That's the most popular drink. I was a bartender for a while, and
excuse me, bartender from age 19 to 26.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So back off another soapbox, but like you guys all deserve. Everyone who's ever watches this video, I don't know if anyone's ever told you, but you deserve to be happy. And it doesn't necessarily have to look like having, you know, 6-pack abs or anything like that, but it should look like loving yourself and prioritizing yourself. Cool.
Boom.
Anything else? Yeah.
Dude, that's dope.
No, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah. I'll be there on Wednesday.
Nice. I fly in Monday.
Nice. I want to go golfing, but I don't think I'm going to be able to.
Gross. No, I'm going to hang out at the pool. I got my one day on Tuesday. I got pool day Wednesday, mind pump Wednesday. Yes, all the things.
That's awesome. I'm going to just stop recording.